So if you're looking for one of these bikes, they're really good value for your money. You can pick one up for about, I don't know, 4 to 5,000 right now, Canadian. Good value for your money. They're generally really reliable bikes. The drawback with these, of course, is that they're an antiquated design. They're an old V-twin, air-cooled, push-rod, carbureted thing. Last year, 06 was carbureted, I believe, at 39 millimeter forks, pretty crude suspension, very basic motorcycle actually. So if you're looking for one of these, it's good value for your money. Really nice styling exercise for Harley Davidson. 1200 Sportster 2006. It's the last year of carburation, I believe. It was around 06 they went fuel injected. So it's got a Canon carburetor hanging off the side of it. Japanese carburetor with the little Harley Davidson logo. So that's pretty cool. You can jack it up, do a bit of tuning. A lot of people, they don't like the drippy, leaky carburetor sort of thing, but I personally like them because you can deal with it. You can pull it off the side, you can clean it, buy new parts for it, put it back together, throw it on the bike. The fuel injection is pretty cool, but you have less control over it, of course, without a more expanded tool set. But that's neither here nor there. I like the carbureted one. Very basic electrics on it. There's a single igniter on this thing. Very, very basic, readily available. Lots of aftermarket parts. But be aware, they are a bit of a crude dinosaur. It's an old pushrod V-twin air-cooled engine. Old design. The first year it came out, Evolution motors back in 84, 85, something like that. And they've been producing them pretty much for a long time. I mean, they had the Ironhead before then, but the Evolution really marked a departure for Harley Davidson in terms of reliability. They got infinitely more reliable after 84, and just in spades, you know. So they're really good bikes. The problem with these bikes is that so many people dig around with them and modify them and make them incredibly unreliable. If you just leave it stock, use a stock air filter, stock jetting, you know, maybe just jet it a little bit. They do run a little lean because of EPA emissions in California, but you know, a little jetting wouldn't hurt. But you know, when you start throwing cams and big pistons and trying to make it into something it never was meant to be, then of course it becomes notoriously unreliable, and there's just legions of stories from owners about that. What's it like to ride? Should you buy one? I don't know. I mean, they do have presence. They do, you know, when you roll up on one of these, you have a lot of chrome dripping off them, and they look the part. They do ride like an old dinosaur bike. They remind me of my 1980 KZ 1000 Kawasaki in terms of the suspension, the handling. They're a little rough for sure. The rear shocks are canted backwards, as you can see, on a steep angle, which don't lend well to soaking up those bumps. The tank's a little small. It limits your touring capacity. You can put a windshield on them. They do sound really nice. The 1200 I've always liked more than the 883. You can buy an 883 for much cheaper, and the reason is because gutless. Diminished part of the 883. Good on fuel. 21-inch front wheel, 16 rear, really basic. Nice looking bike, really sharp styling cues. Nice paint, quality chrome, and quality metal on this thing. That's why they're so heavy. So kind of a blessing and a curse. They're heavy, but you know, well built. There's a lot of material there, and the machining is really good. And they built, the 06 was the last year carbureted, then they went to fuel injection. The fuel injection was okay. The early days of fuel injection with Harley Davidson, though, were suffering again from lean conditions with fueling due to EPA emissions from emanating from California standards. And you had to, you know, they had a bit of a time with that. I don't know if there's recalls with it, but certainly they had their moments with customer dissatisfaction, stalling in traffic, you know, especially in warmer climates down in California, Arizona, in the summer months. If you dared ride down there in the summer months, you know, they would start stalling out, overheating, etc., etc. So what's it like to ride? They do ride like an old dinosaur. So that's the honest truth about these things. They look great sitting still. You go down a rough, say, back alley, gravel road, you quickly find the limits of the bike. It's rough. You know, like it's more, the stance lends itself more to aesthetics rather than riding. I really like the old bike. It's a bit of a dinosaur though, to be fair, but aesthetics, I mean, they're second to none really. I mean, they beat out most of the other bikes in aesthetics for sure. So if you're looking for one of these, a good time to buy one. I really like it. This one came in, it's only got 4,000 kilometers on it. It's suffering more from sitting than anything. And that's another thing to consider. I mean, because they're almost 20 years old now, the bikes, you know, they just suffer from sitting. The seals dry out, and, you know, the carburetor bits dry out. The gasoline gets varnished and causes all kinds of grief, rust in the tank. So you're almost better buying a bike that has been serviced with service records and continually ridden at least, you know, a fair amount every year, and then the fluids have kept churning and keep the thing kind of lubricated. But these things do fall apart sitting, just like people, so bear that in mind if you're shopping around, not just with this bike but any bike actually. So yeah, good bike, go for it. I highly recommend it. Nice bike, just a bit of a crude dinosaur. Be aware of that. Handling's a little lacking. But, you know, it's not that kind of bike anyway. It's more of a cruising, slow motorcycle for going for ice cream on Sundays sort of thing. The tank's a little small on these things, so it does limit your range for touring. But, you know, given the ergonomics of this bike, I don't know if you'd spend a whole lot of time in the saddle on this thing anyway. This one's a belt drive, so kind of cool. Common parts on them, very simple to work on, more or less. Nice little bike. I like this thing actually. I like it. It's good. It's great. Like if you were just looking to drive this thing down to McDonald's or something, you know, have a coffee, or, you know, go sit in the parking lot somewhere with some buddies and chew the fat. I mean, it's a kind of cool round town bike. It does have a lot of presence. The styling's excellent on it. The paint is really quality. Like the chrome and paint on Harley Davidson's, nobody really beats them, the quality. So yeah, they got that going for them for sure. So round town bike, pretty cool. Long trips, not so much. Small tank, kind of rough on the back, especially as you get older, of course. And yeah, should you buy one? Sure, why not? If that's all you want it for. If you want to go long trips, maybe not so much. So there you go. Hope that helps. Handling's a little leaves a little to be desired for sure. When you start winging this thing into corners and whatnot, it's you know, it shows its shortcomings fairly quick. Let's just put it that way. You should use a straight weight, 30 weight in these things, 30, 40, 50. Fill it to the bottom of the clutch cover. Here's where you fill it. The little cover comes out of here. See that? I had a couple strip bolts in there. They're Allen heads. Really goofy little bolts. So I had to get a replacement for that. It's leaking out of the shift shaft, so I'm going to put a new seal in there. And you fill it up anyways to the bottom. It takes up roughly a quart or roughly 1 liter. You fill it up under this gasket. You pull the gasket out. Just like that, pops right out, and you can see there's a fill hole in there. You pour the oil in, you can see the primary chain goes back to the clutch, and you fill it up right to the bottom, and you fill it up about 1 liter. And the thing is that this is a wet type clutch, so it has to be bathed in the oil, of course, otherwise the clutch plates run dry and then it doesn't work. So anyways, there you go. You could use a 30, 40, 50 weight oil in this thing. Straight weight though, non-detergent oil, so that all the crap settles to the bottom, just like fork oil, because there's no filtration system, no oil filter. So whenever you have an oil situation with no oil filter, you generally run a straight weight oil. Old school stuff. So yeah, hope that helps. Quick review on the 1200. Happen to have one on bench, so there you go, folks. Hope that helps. Catch you later. Ciao.